Hey guys, Demon Gaming here, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different than I've been doing in the past. We're going to be running Vault of the Warden on Mythic difficulty. Now, this is more of an in-depth guide on how to really run this dungeon. I mean, it's not really too hard. Mythic dungeons I don't really consider to be that difficult, but, sometimes there's things that people have problems with, so we're going to be going over this, and I'm not going to, leave it for as long as it actually took me to complete this dungeon, because dungeons usually take me about an hour to complete like this. I mean, it's Mythic difficulty, and of course I'm going to wipe a few times, and I mean, it's mostly because the group I was running with, I was the only one in the dungeon who had actually run this on Mythic difficulty before, so there's a few things that they didn't really know, and they didn't really tell me that this was their first time running Mythic for a while, so it was really interesting. But anyways, it's not that hard of a dungeon. It's fairly easy as long as you have some common sense, like, oh look, there's something on the floor, I should probably not be stepping in it. And if you run this on Heroic, then essentially a lot of the concepts behind it are very similar, just a lot more punishing. Anyways, guys, let's get started with what we're going to be doing. So after about 5 minutes of waiting for everyone to finally get into the dungeon, we start going down the path. I mean, we're just doing a lot of small pulls. I mean, nothing too big because, you know what, we don't want to make this that hard on the healer, and also there's no real reason to pull so much. I mean, this is also me trying to check their DPS, because if you're running with a group of randoms, you're not sure how well your healer is going to be doing, you're not sure how well your DPS is going to be doing, so it's nice to just pull little groups at a time, and also a lot less stressful. So, I mean, we're going to do this for the next few groups up to the mini-boss, and I'll be back when that happens. So guys, the mini-boss is not too difficult from how I was in Heroic. He's a little bit stronger though, and he'll end up taking your health down quite a bit more. I mean, in this case, I almost actually get killed, but it's mostly because the healer's trying to make sure everyone else doesn't die either, so it's good on the healer's part, but it was a little scary for me, being the tank, being like, oh look, I only have about 5% of my health left. That's not fun. But as you can tell, he's getting a little bit of AoE going out, and we're going to start dropping health pretty fast. And it's just down to making sure that you just keep DPSing the boss down, make sure that, we're going to live, that the boss is going to die, and make sure you avoid his low AoE things that he places down. Essentially, common sense applies here. If you see something on the floor, don't step in it. Anyways, guys, then we're going to, of course, make sure everyone's ready to go up the stairs, and then, of course, take out the little ads that they have up here. Not too terribly strong. I like to get big groups of them because, like I said before, not very strong creatures, and with all my AoE, it's just easier to take them down as fast as possible. And of course, we're going to go up here, pull this group, and DPS it down. There's nothing really too difficult about this part, so we're just going to skip ahead to the part that you have to be a little bit more careful on. Now for this next part, we're going to want to pull this little group here and DPS them out as fast as we can, focusing on the Fel-Infused Fury, because he has a lot of AoE attacks that could kill all of your people or just really hurt them, and you want to make sure that he's dealt with as soon as possible. He's not really fun to go against, and you're going to see in the next pull, when the Fel-Infused Fury is in that one, we're going to get pretty badly hurt. I mean, we're not paying too much attention, so of course the gaze goes off and we take a lot of damage. Does a little 360, burning everything in his path, and we all go to about half health. It's not very fun. That's why you want to make sure that focusing as soon as possible, kill him as soon as possible, that way he's not so worrisome. This is me just trying to grab aggro, and of course I made the mistake of not focusing him just because I kind of assumed everyone else was, but that was probably bad on my part. And as you can tell, does this little 360, and look at our health drop, because we just stand in front of that beam and we take a lot of damage. Anyways, this pull is probably one of my least favorites on this place, just because it's 4 people, and I like to do very small pulls. Like before, 4 people hurt me a bit, but not too much. But this one's a little bit worse because, of course, we did not focus out that Fury, and the Fury just killed us, or almost killed us, sorry. Anyways, then we're just gonna kill a couple mobs up here and get down to the first boss. Now the first boss not too hard to deal with. I mean, it's mostly about common sense. Like, you know what, the main point of Mythic dungeons I feel is common sense, because a lot of them, at least in this expansion, did not have too many difficulties to them. As you can tell, he casted Fell Mortar. When he casts that, just make sure that you're not standing in the middle of a mortar, and you should be fine. Make sure you don't step in it. Like common sense would dictate, you know what, if anything's on the floor that's not supposed to be there, good chances are you're not supposed to stand in it. Anyways, and we get to the point where he switches into his Havoc form, and he's just going to start hitting a little bit harder, and he's just going to be using a different set of abilities. You're going to want to be careful of his AoE, because as you can tell, we took a good amount of damage, and he'll cast a little I-beam. Make sure that you're not standing in contact with that I-beam. You know, if it targets you, start running away. Just make sure that you're not going to be taking too much damage. And this boss fight is not too terribly hard. It's probably one of the easiest in this dungeon, and even then, not a lot of them are hard, so very little to be worried about. Of course, I actually do have to go through my little passive there, as I almost get killed, but we lost one guy out of that because, of course, he stood in the beam, or he ran to the moor. I couldn't really tell. But yeah, just make sure you're avoiding those little puddles, and just make sure that you DPS the boss down. Fairly simple. Not too much to worry about. Of course, we only lost one guy, and that's pretty much it. When he has that little shield up, you're just going to want to make sure that get down as fast as possible. But anyways, as you can tell, I'm not going to get anything out of this boss, and you're just going to see me slowly become more and more salty as I share my displeasure with this drop system. I don't know, I actually like the drop system in this game now, after they changed it where, you know, we all have separate loot tables, but I was a little bit salty because my last dungeon I didn't get anything, and you're just going to see me slowly get worse and worse as every single boss gives me more and more disappointment. Anyways, guys, the second part of this is, of course, just aggroing as many of these imps as you can. Come as fast as possible, like I said before in the previous part. You know what, these are little things, so just get a big group of them, DPS them down. When they start channeling, make sure you're not standing in the middle of that, because you don't want to give your healer a heart attack or die. Now, this boss is a little bit more difficult than he was in Heroic. See, this one, we're actually going to try DPS boss as fast as possible. We're actually going to wipe a few times when we're doing this, but honestly, it's just because people made some silly mistakes. Like, for instance, they kept telling me, oh, interrupt Sapsoul, but on Mythic difficulty, you're not actually able to interrupt Sapsoul, so I recommend the ability that you choose after Sapsoul ends is something that has a fairly high cooldown already, so you're not going to miss it too terribly much. In this fight, I actually do make the mistake of using some of my abilities that I usually spam, and that really messes me up. As you can tell, it'll spawn those little eyes. Make sure that you're facing them when they're going to be looking at you, because you don't really need to worry about them as much. But if you're not really looking at them when you have that little thing connected to you, as you're going to see, I get disoriented for about 2 seconds. Anyways, guys, when he breaks out his little friends from the prison, make sure that you're DPSing those down pretty fast, because leaving them alive is just going to cause more and more issues, and that's exactly what's going to happen. As you can see, I accidentally used the wrong ability there, and I couldn't really heal up myself for a bit. And of course, you know what, we're not actually focusing them for some reason. I mean, everyone's more focusing on the boss than anything else, and I mean, I am too, but I'm like, okay, why aren't we getting these guys? And I made a stupid mistake of assuming that they'd kind of go to these guys too. So as you can tell, I kind of go down to them, lose a lot of my health, have to go through my passive, and it gets really bad. We're actually going to wipe on this run just because we're not killing any of his little summons. And see, we already have one guy go down, we're about to have a second, about to have a third, and I'm about to go down. I mean, it's just a big mess. As you can tell, he just kicked someone down there. And yeah, I mean, it's just a mess because, of course, look, see, you have 2 guys still up, and it's just annoying. So make sure you kill those things as fast as possible. When the eyes connect to your third line, make sure you're facing them, not too hard, and it should go fairly easy. I'm going to skip around because I don't think you want to see me die 5 times. But yeah, not too hard of a fight, just gotta be making sure you're taking down those ads, because ads are tank's worst nightmare, because these things are just going to kill me over and over again if you're not killing them first. Now, after skipping ahead about 10 minutes, and yes, we wiped a lot more than I'd like to admit. Anyways, you're going to see me get a little bit of gold, get slowly and slowly more and more salty. I'm just going to be like GZ to that guy, because of course, whenever I see someone get a nice drop, I always congratulate them. But anyways, then we're going to go through one of the doors. Doesn't matter which one you do first. I personally like to go after this one here, to the gazer, because I'm a skinner, so I'm just like, oh look, 4 dogs I can skin. Leather is leather, so yeah, we're just gonna quickly DPS this guy down. So guys, the gazer on this one, or the glazer, I don't really even care what his name is. He's not gonna be too hard. I mean, he's probably one of the easiest bosses in this dungeon. I mean, I think most of the bosses in this dungeon are easy, aside from that second one and maybe the last one, just because, of course, you actually have to worry about more stuff. But this one is not difficult at all. You know what, just make sure you're DPSing it down. Avoid all the things flying back and forth on the floor. Make sure that you don't get killed or just start killing everyone else around you, because, of course, when they explode, it's a big AoE explosion. So after DPSing him down a little bit, you're going to have him, of course, get into his little shell form, and he's going to shoot his little beam. Now, the thing about this, though, is, as you can tell, there's one that's been slightly corrupted by fell energy. No one's really actually paying attention to this, and this is a problem. I, for some reason, am messing around too much here, and I'm like, oh, wait. You know what? What are we doing? And then I'm just still messing around because I completely forgot. If you don't kill that thing, you're going to kill yourself. Yeah, it does a lot of damage, especially when it, you wait too long. So make sure you kill that thing as fast as possible, because if you don't, your team's going to go down as fast as possible. Anyways, guys, just make sure that you focus that when it comes up, and I'm going to skip ahead to kind of show you what happens. So after we start fighting him again, of course, the first thing I do is like, oh, look, there's the fell infused one. Destroy that as fast as possible, as I was saying before, and of course there are only a couple of us really focusing it, but a couple is all you really need. And then of course you're going to position them around like you did before. It's a little bit longer than before, though. Make sure you're not standing inside that beam, because you're probably going to get yourself killed like that poor sap there. Then of course just make sure that's facing the guy, and make sure you don't be an idiot and hit yourself like I did. But anyways, just start DPSing him down again, and he should fall pretty fast. That's the only actual time we had to worry about that little thing going off. So of course then it was just hit him, and it went pretty fast. Then guys, we just kill the boss fairly fast. I'll get my gold drop and get really salted, because of course this is probably my 6th gold drop in a row. Yeah, I ran Maul before this and I got nothing. Little depressing, so I'm like, you know what, hopefully I'll get something good out of this. And like I said before, you'll see me get slowly and slowly more salty. That's a little funny thing that happened. Of course, if you don't know about this, you can go down this little hallway. That way you don't have to worry about killing that pack of ads up there by the doorway. And so I'm just seeing what this druid's doing. I mean, he can stealth past them pretty easily, but I'm like, why are you going that way, man? Come back here. Come back here. Yeah, I just kind of messed around with him for a bit. This probably takes about a minute or two. I mean, I just thought it was pretty funny, because I'm just like, get back here. We don't have to kill those ads. But anyways, after, I kind of realized that the druid's just going to stealth past them, I'm just like, you know what, I'm just going to go through the hallway. I'm going to go to the boss, and of course going to show up at the boss when I continue. And kind of explain the fight. Not too hard of a fight. So let me just get down this hallway. As I was saying before, this boss isn't too terribly hard. He's a lot like he was back in Heroic. Of course, I'm just going to yell something random before we start fighting him, because that's what I like to do. Anyways, guys, it's mostly just taking him down. Fairly simple. Once he starts spawning a little too much to handle, activate countermeasures. However, there is an achievement for beating him on Mythic difficulty without activating said countermeasures, which is mostly reliant on a DPS race and making sure that you're killing his ads whenever they spawn. We're actually going to get pretty close to completing that, but of course we're going to end up kind of forfeiting the idea because they just start spawning a little too much, and we just don't want to deal with wiping at this point because, of course, we wiped once on the Glacier, which was kind of sad, and then we wiped 5 times on that second boss, which we really shouldn't have. Common sense applies here, of course. When cast any of these abilities, just make sure you're not standing in those big pools of lava, because usually lava is not going to heal you. I mean, technically I get healed by fire damage, but I don't think it counts when it's inflicted upon myself. Anyways, as you can tell, we're doing pretty good on DPS. We haven't activated the room's countermeasures at all, but as you can see, I've taken a lot more damage. It's getting a little bit more intense, so we're going to end up activating it around here just to make sure that we're not going to accidentally wipe. But if you have a little bit more dedicated DPS, it's not that hard of a boss to kill, and you can essentially finish it up pretty fast. Just make sure you're killing those adds as soon as possible. And waiting for us to actually summon those countermeasures, because as you can tell, we're not clearing the minions as fast anymore. And countermeasures? I'm guessing, like, I don't really watch this before. I'm literally recording this and watching it at the same time because I ran this yesterday. So of course we activate the countermeasures, start DPSing the boss down. One of the reasons why we activate the countermeasures though is because we did lose one of our guys. As you can tell, he's down now. But anyways, this boss isn't too hard, fairly easy. Like I was saying before, you know, this guy and Glazer are fairly simple bosses. It's just about making sure you have some common sense in dodging the things that you're not supposed to run into. But anyways, I'm just going to leave this running because I don't think you guys care about, you know, let me explain anything else, because like I said before, these boss mechanics are fairly simple. See lava on the floor, don't step in the lava. Embers are getting a little out of control, use the room's countermeasure. Those volcanoes are evil. And time to get my gold. I do manage to get, you know, a little bit of artifact power, so I'm a little bit happy about that, but I'm still very salty, as you can tell. I have essentially hit rock bottom at this point. But anyways, we'll revive him, and then we're going to travel to the next part of the dungeon. I didn't really think you guys wanted to watch me killing a whole bunch of ads for, you know, about 10 minutes, so of course I cut that part out. And we've gotten to the final boss. Now this boss is very similar to how she is in Heroic. The only real differences, I'd say, is Creeping Doom lasts a lot longer and is a lot more brutal. So you're going to kind of see that, and you're going to kind of see us get hit a couple times probably. Anyways, this one went a little bit more smoothly because make sure that you mark the guy with light, especially if it is Demon Hunter, because for some reason I have a lot of visual glitches with the light. I'm not really sure when Blizzard's going to fix that, but you'll kind of watch and you're going to see the light kind of disappear off my head, but you'll see I still technically have it on. I can still technically throw it, and it still works like it's supposed to. Of course, it just is a visual bug. Now, when you have the light, of course, you're going to want to stand near the little piles of corruption. Make sure that those are going down. Of course, I'm going to get the light stolen off the top of my head, so we're going to go kill this little thing, pick up the light, and then go hunt her down. And you should actually see how fast she moves. I mean, as a Demon Hunter, I have the spectral sight, so I can actually look at her, and she runs when she's moving from left to right. But anyways, boss is fairly similar to how she is in Heroic, as I was saying before. A little bit more difficult though, because if you're not really paying much attention, Creeping Doom will destroy your party. And as you can tell, I'm making sure I get rid of all those little stacks of corruption, because during Creeping Doom, especially lasting as long as it does, you're going to want to make sure that you're not going to have to worry about accidentally running into all these big green piles of death. Around like 30% she's going to cast Creeping Doom. As you can see, I kind of let that area build up a bit, so I am not going to be able to really clear that. Yeah, it takes a while, as you can tell, for it to actually cast, and of course now we're casting Creeping Doom. You can actually get an achievement though if you do this without having the light on your head. Of course, we're not going to do that because this group's the first time running Mythic, and also I didn't really have much confidence in us because we're even struggling beforehand with just me not being marked. But as you can tell, a lot more brutal, lasts a lot longer, And okay, yeah, see, I'm just like, okay, we're going to run into a whole bunch of things. Anyways, we managed to pass it and live, which is our first time actually having everyone live through a Creeping Doom. All of our other runs, we had at least 2 people die. That's why it's important to mark your guy with the light on him, especially if, you know, you have to worry about the visual bug that I'm having. Anyways, as soon as that shield comes up, you know that she has a little minion spawned. So make sure you kill that thing as fast as possible, because you cannot hurt her unless that minion is dead, just like heroic difficulty. Anyways, now it's just us DPSing her down. Of course, it doesn't take too terribly long. Of course, she's going to cast Creeping Doom again, and it's a little bit worrisome. We're just making sure that we go through the right holes, and people aren't really paying too much attention. So, of course, you're going to have a couple guys get hit, but nothing too terrible to worry about. I almost died in this part, but of course, Last Resort saves me once again. And there she goes. She's about to go down. And bam. And look, I still only got gold and that little artifact power. So, no drops this dungeon. Little salty because, of course, Mythics have a cooldown on them of a week. But anyways, guys, that was the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and hopefully this helps you guys in your dungeon runs. Like I said before, most of it's fairly simple. Just have a little bit of common sense and you shouldn't die. See anything on the floor that's not supposed to be there, make sure you're not standing in it. Simple as that. Have a good time. This was Gaming, and hopefully I'll see you guys next time.